What happens when a conversation meant to be calm, curious, and controlled suddenly erupts into something no one inside the studio can rein back in? The low mechanical sigh of cameras warming up fills the room. Blue studio lights pulse against the brick wall. Joe Rogan adjusts his headphones, rolls his shoulders once, twice, like a fighter settling into the ring. Across from him, Prince Harry sits straight-backed, palms together, wearing a carefully measured half-smile. The kind you put on when you're trying to look relaxed, even though your pulse is betraying you. A hush settles in, a quiet that feels too delicate for the weight in the room. Narrator VO. In this video, we step into a vivid, cinematic recreation of a tense, escalating clash, unfolding inside the Joe Rogan Experience studio, where the conversation didn't just go off script, it detonated. A red light snaps on. Camera 1 pushes in toward Joe. Camera 2 drifts to Harry, soft focus around the edges. A boom mic hangs inches above them. Joe. All right, we're rolling. Prince Harry in the building. Good to have you here, man. Harry, smiling politely. Happy to be here. It's different from my usual environments, that's for sure. Joe gives a small, knowing grin, the kind that hints he already has a direction in mind. Joe. That's the idea. We like different here. Harry exhales, a tiny tell, only visible in tight close-up. For a few minutes, the conversation is harmless. Upbringing, military discipline, public pressure, life in the spotlight. Harry answers with careful deliberation. Joe counters with blunt curiosity. But the rhythm is uneven. Harry senses it. The studio senses it. Even the cameraman shifts his feet, like he knows a storm cloud is forming overhead. Joe. Let's just get into it, man. You've been in headlines for years. Some people say you've sort of abandoned the traditional concepts that made your family what it is. You think that's fair? Harry freezes for half a second. Not long enough for an average listener to detect. But the camera catches everything. Harry. I didn't abandon anything. I made choices for my well-being, and my family's. Joe, cocking an eyebrow. Yeah, but well-being means different things to different people. Some see it as taking responsibility. Others see it as avoiding it. A pulse flickers in Harry's jaw. Harry, are you implying something? Joe. I'm not implying. I'm asking. You left a system billions of people care about. That's a big move. You had to know the blowback was coming. Harry leans forward, elbows on the table. Harry Joe, with respect. You speak freely for a living. You know what pressure feels like, yet you're acting like choosing peace is weakness. The studio temperature seems to climb. Joe. Look, I'm not calling anything weak. I'm saying you were part of something massive, something symbolic, and people feel like you walked away when it got uncomfortable. A beat of stillness. Harry folds his hands. His voice drops. Harry, no. I walked away when it got unsafe. The line hangs in the air, heavy, trembling between them. Joe shifts in his chair, squints, then leans closer into the mic. Joe, unsafe? Or inconvenient? A subtle gasp from someone behind the cameras. Harry's expression tightens, the kind of controlled anger that royalty is trained for, but can't quite hide. Harry, you're twisting my words. Joe. No, I'm trying to understand them. Harry, there's a difference. Joe waves a hand. Joe? Okay then, walk me through it. What exactly was unsafe? Millions of people face worse conditions every day and don't step away from their responsibilities. Harry's eyes flash. A moment of raw emotion surfaces before he pushes it back down. Harry Joe. I didn't come here to be compared to the average person. My situation was not normal, and you know that. Joe. That's my point. It wasn't normal because you had more resources, more protection, more… Harry. Interrupting, voice rising. More danger, more pressure, more threat. You're simplifying things you don't understand. Joe's eyebrows jump. Joe, whoa! Easy. Harry. No. You asked me here to speak honestly, so let me. Harry leans even closer. The camera zooms to catch the tremor in his voice. Not weakness, but intensity. Harry. I lived through mental strain that nearly broke me. I lived under scrutiny that felt like suffocation. My wife lived through attacks that were relentless. And when we asked for help, we were told to smile, to endure, to pretend everything was fine. Joe's jaw tightens. He's not backing off. Joe. Okay. But people endure horrible things everywhere. They don't all have the luxury of leaving the system they're in. Harry sits back slowly, as if physically pulling himself away from the blow. Harry, speaking carefully, is that what you think happened? That it was luxury? Joe nods. Harry. Then you genuinely don't understand a damn thing. Camera 3 cuts to an extreme close-up on Joe. Not angry, but intrigued. Watching, calculating. Joe. Explain it to me then. That's why you're here. A long, tense silence. Harry breaks it. Harry. You want the truth? It wasn't leaving that broke me. It was staying. The line lands with a thud, heavy enough to silence everyone in the room. But Joe Rogan, never one to step away from friction, pushes harder. Joe. So you're saying the institution itself was, what? A danger to you? Harry hesitates. A dangerous hesitation. The kind that suggests he's deciding how much to reveal, or how much he's willing to risk. Harry. I'm saying, it wasn't sustainable. For my mental health. Or for my family. Joe rubs his chin, an old habit. Joe. But doesn't everyone deal with pressure? Look at soldiers, cops, fighters, athletes. They get crushed mentally too, but they stick with it. They don't quit their roles. Harry's stare sharpens into something icy. Harry, are you comparing family pressure to warfare? Joe, I'm comparing responsibility to responsibility. Harry shakes his head slowly. Harry, this is exactly why I hesitated coming here. Joe lifts his brows. Joe, why's that? Harry, because you don't listen. You challenge for the sake of challenging. You call it conversation. But really, you're provoking. Joe smirks. Joe, I provoke everyone. That's the show. Harry's voice goes cold. Harry, not everyone is a fighter, Joe. Joe's tone dips into irritation. Joe, I didn't ask you to fight. I asked you to talk. Harry, you're not talking. You're baiting. Joe leans forward. Joe, I'm pushing you because people want answers they haven't gotten anywhere else. This is the biggest podcast in the world. You knew what you were stepping into. Harry's cheeks flush with heat, frustration, embarrassment, or both. He sits up straighter, shoulders rigid. Harry, if you think attacking my decisions is going to magically create truth, you're wrong. Joe, attack? Dude, you're acting like I'm interrogating you. Harry, because you are. Joe's mouth opens, then closes. Harry presses on. Harry, you're doing exactly what the press did, exactly what the institution did. You're not listening. You're trying to corner me into an answer that fits your narrative. Joe bristles. Joe, I don't have a narrative. Harry, everyone has one. A silence blows across the room like cold wind. Suddenly, a producer steps forward, whispering urgently into Joe's headset. His expression shifts, subtle but visible. Harry watches sharply. Harry, what's happening? Joe doesn't answer immediately. He listens to another quick burst of chatter in his earpiece. Then Joe sets his hands on the table and looks at Harry with an expression that mixes annoyance, calculation, and something close to disbelief. Joe, we need to pause the recording. Harry blinks. Harry, why? Joe hesitates, then says it. Joe, because they're telling me you crossed a line talking about the institution like that. They want you off the set. The room goes dead silent. Harry's breath catches, a soft, stunned inhale. Harry, you want me off, Joe? Not my call. The higher-ups are freaking out. Sponsors, too. They don't want this going further. Harry stares, frozen. Harry, so you're kicking me out because I told the truth? Joe massages his temples, irritated at the chaos. Joe, I'm saying the interview's over, for now. They don't want the fallout. Harry stands abruptly, chair scraping harshly across the floor. He looks around the studio, the lights, the cameras, the crew, all of them suddenly silent, watching him like a man exiled mid-sentence. Harry, quiet but full of fire. Unbelievable. Joe rises too, palms out. Joe. Look, man, it's not personal. Harry. Everything about this was personal. Harry steps back from the table. Harry, if you wanted a spectacle, you got one. The cameras keep rolling, even though the show is paused. A producer rushes forward, attempting to escort Harry out. Harry doesn't even look at him. Harry, don't touch me. He turns back one last time toward Joe, not furious, but disappointed, deeply. Harry, I expected a conversation, not a takedown. Joe says nothing. The tension is a living thing. Harry heads for the studio door, jaw locked, fists tight at his sides. The moment he reaches the threshold, he stops, but doesn't turn around. Harry, you didn't want the truth. You wanted a headline. He walks out. The door slams shut. Cut to black.